And welcome back to the Fantasy Zone, where we talk everything fantasy football. First, right now, we're going to talk about the top scorers from last week. And I have them written down, and they might be different for other leagues, but in the general one. The top scorer this week was Matt Stafford at quarterback. And surprisingly enough, because he got benched the week before for throwing too many interceptions, it's a pretty bold call to bench your starting quarterback. DeAndre Hopkins, who Jason talked about earlier, Devontae Freeman, which isn't really going to be a surprise on anybody's list. For tight end was Greg Olsen, which was kind of nice because he was sitting on my team right there. Mm-hmm. Chris Boswell and Phil Dawson as kickers were the number one, tied for number one for kickers. McManus, I picked him up, and he's always been good for me. And then the number one scoring defense last week was the Miami Dolphins.
Yep, and that's what we talked about. I feel like we really helped you guys out. If you listened to Courtney, myself, and Kirk last week, we told you Miami, that's a nice defense to pick up, change of thought, and it worked out. That
team is totally going to be revamped now that they've gotten rid of their coach and they're in a different mindset and everything like that.
Exactly.
So I want you to tell me, who is your bold prediction for this week?
I've made so many tonight, Courtney. It's unbelievable. I have choices, but I'm going to tell you something. We have a few undefeated teams in the NFL. We're going to lose a couple this week, and the one we're definitely going to lose. You heard it here first. Yeah, go. Don't pay your mortgage. Go put it on the Jets. The Jets upset the New England Patriots this week, and again, I told you Fitzpatrick, the Ivy League Harvard educated quarterback, leads them over Tommy Terrific. You heard it here first. The Jets beat the Patriots.
I agree with you, but that might be me hoping that it's true as well, because I've never really been a huge fan of New England. Sorry, Noah. But I think the Jets have a super solid defense. My bold prediction is actually going to be that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to upset the Carolina Panthers.
So another undefeated team goes down. You're another undefeated team.
Exactly. And, you know, I would say the same thing about the Denver Broncos if they weren't on bye week this week.
I say about I'm surprised they're undefeated.
They're kind of fumbling. They're kind of fumbling through all of their wins.
It's like Peyton is being paid to try to lose. Like he's got money on the other team or something. It's unbelievable. Man.
It's tough. It's definitely tough. So we've kind of talked about, given hints about our personal fantasy football teams. How are you doing in yours?
I had a great week last week. I mean, I guess hearing somebody talk about their fantasy team is like hearing me talk about my dream. What do you care unless you're in it? But I had a great week. I played the top team in our league. They had Tom Brady. I had Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer outscored Tom Brady last week on my team, and I took down the undefeated team in my league, and I'm getting closer. So it was a good week for me. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a decent week for me. I'm sitting at number one. Woo, number one at 5-1.
There's no place to go, isn't there?
Yeah, and I have a feeling after all of my buys this week, I might be going down. I have four people on buy, and I have 3 of my starters in the red. And if you know what that means in the red, that means they're up against really, really terrible matchups.
Well, but they say that, but you just don't know until they play the game. That's why they play the game. And not to bore the viewers anymore, but last week, besides beating Tom Brady, I had 3 of my starters on bye week. So, I mean, frankly, like I didn't think I would win at all, and I won by 15 points. I mean, some would say that's a domination.
Oh yeah.
In fact, I would be that person that says I dominated last week.
For 50 points or 15?
15. Yeah.
I don't know. It kind of depends on that as well. So, let's see here. What else did I have?
Well, there's some other upsets I see this week. If you want to talk upsets, I definitely see the Patriots losing the Jets. I don't think your pick's crazy. I don't think calling the Eagles. I mean, it's a tough pick. A lot of guys are, smart money's going against you. But the Eagles are coming together. That's a great choice. And I actually see. Here's a guy I really like this week. We're talking about wins, but let's talk about fantasy football. I love Derek Carr for the Raiders. All right,
I love him. Saying that.
I love him. I love it. He's come off a bye week. The Chargers. We know they can score. I mean, Philip Rivers threw for 503 yards last week. I'm surprised he wasn't our top scorer.
Yeah.
He had to be at least second or third. He had to be right up there.
He was probably third.
Okay.
He was third because Matt Stafford was number 1. Phillip Rivers was number 2 with 500 passing yards against the Packers.
Yeah, I mean,
and then you said Derek Carr.
No. I mean, I meant to say Phillip Rivers.
Oh.
So what I'm trying to say is it's going to be a shootout.
Yeah.
And Carr has Amari Cooper, who runs like a gazelle, big passes. Another thing you should look at. I told you last week he plays for my team, but Carson Palmer, he had 3 40-yard bombs last week. And most leagues have a bonus if you have a 40-yard or a 50-yard pass play. That's huge. Those type of dynamic makes it big and makes opportunity for you to win your league.
Yeah, absolutely. Noah's getting angry at me because I told everybody that the Patriots should lose. He's being kind of obnoxious. Anyways, yeah, for another upset that I have, I mean, it's not really an upset, but I definitely think that the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to beat the Buffalo Bills. I have that feeling that, I mean, they're totally going to do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, why not? They're in London,
And, part of me always wants to root for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but
It's the American you. We root for the underdog.
It's something, for sure. Well, I think this pretty much concludes this edition of the Fantasy Zone. We'll see you here again next week. Remember, I'm Courtney Salmon.
I'm Jason Earnest.
And we will see you here again next week.